Hello, I'm Mike Jones from FCSI's Foodservice Consultant Magazine. Welcome to the NAFEM Show 2025 and welcome to the huge Middleby Innovation Alley where we are hosting a specially convened panel session, FCSI's Innovation in the Kitchen panel, supported by Middleby and focusing on how innovation is improving kitchen operations across North America. And to do that, I'm delighted to be joined by two leading FCSI the Americas consultants and Meghan Daro from Middleby. So let me ask my panelists to introduce themselves briefly and then we'll get underway. So Christine, let's start with you first, please.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Christine Guyott, and I am an executive principal with Rippe Associates, and I'm also the chair of the Americas division of FCSI.
Thank you, Christine. And Bob?
Hi, Bob Doland. I'm principal at Jacobs Doland Beer, Foodservice Design Consult.
Thank you, Bob. And Meghan?
And I'm Meghan Daro, Vice President of Consultant Services with Middleby, and thank you all again for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. So first question, Christine, it's the big one. Why is embracing innovation in a kitchen absolutely critical to streamlining operations and ultimately improving profitability for operators?
As food service design consultants, we're hardwired to make sure that we are designing efficiency into our kitchens. And we have the basis of that. You're making sure that we have, kitchens that are, smaller, that we have good footprint. So we're really trying to work with time and efficiency on the design standpoint. But now we need to layer in the innovation to that and how to make things easier for our operators. To be a little trite, time is money, right? And So we need to make sure that we can find things that make their job easier, faster, quicker, so that they can get on to other tasks.
Great answer, Christine. Thank you. Bob, can you give us maybe some examples from food service projects you've recently worked on, where innovation has dramatically impacted the efficiency of an operation for a client, and how has that in turn helped them to do what they do better and make money?
Sure. So recently what we've been doing is a lot of multiple point service designs, and that's been made possible by technology. So for instance, if we have a salad station, there's a pre-order system that most guests have on their phone or on their desktop that allows them to order what they want, go down to that station, not wait in that line, pick up their order. It's already paid, they leave. Food lockers are another great innovation for that, for holding that food. It can be an ambient locker, or lockers are now available that can hold either hot or cold and have a multiple of different ambient and food temperatures if you wanted to keep your cold drink cold and your hot food hot. So that's allowed us to sort of offer more with less. Same footprint, multiple service points, less congestion.
Fantastic. Meghan, to Bob's point there about offering clients, giving them more for less.
Sure.
How are you engaging consultants? How are you getting their feedback on equipment design and new products that you're able to launch into market that incorporates that kind of insight that they can give you? How do you capture that?
Absolutely. That's really important. So honestly, things like this, being here at a trade show, listening to the feedback, having our partners come into the booth and put their hands on the equipment but share their client experiences. And then I think the biggest piece of it really for us is the communication, right? So if I don't hear it, right, then we can't communicate it to our brands and our reps will send that information back to us. So it's really all about that alignment and speaking to one another, because clearly, as on the manufacturing side, we really want to be able to optimize the client experience, right? And bring the best product offering to the market. And without that constant communication and networking and events and association participation, we can't get better. So I think just circling back, really just keeping that open communication with our partners to be able to understand what the market's demanding.
Wonderful. Thank you, Meghan. Christine, one of the hardest nuts to crack in the industry at the moment is the labor issue. The issue of solving the kind of the labor problem, a labor crisis, quite frankly. How is innovation helping your clients to manage the labor question better? And what sort of tangible results have you been able to see?
Sure. Even walking around the show, there's been so many things that we're seeing that are going to help our clients with their labor issues. A lot of it is in things that are easy to operate. Controls that are easy to operate. Having things that can track the temperatures so that they don't have to manually go around and track temperatures, things that are easy to adjust, just making sure things are easy to clean. I think all of those things are going to be helpful for labor, because those are the things that kind of get left at the bottom, cleaning, the sanitation, some of those. So making things easy to clean, easy to use, is really what we're seeing on the show floor.
Great answer. Thank you, Christine. Bob, do you think innovation is stepping up enough to plug that labor gap? And how do we continue to keep moving that dial?
So I think in terms of the higher technology, it seems like food service in the U.S. is a little bit slower than in Europe, for instance, with some of the technology. And I think that has to do with our labor market mostly, and the robust build that we need over here versus over there. The adaptation of that is a little bit slow, maybe for training purposes, maybe because the labor force continually rotates and turns over here. So I think there's been a slow adaptation, but I think it's gaining a lot of speed. I've been seeing a lot of interactive iPhone-like controls on most of the equipment, picture-driven instead of cycles of menus. You know, select the photo, it goes through the process. In addition to that, you've got different day parts on a lot of this equipment. So, you know, the AM person comes in, signs in either with voice or with a code. His menu for that moment is up on the screen. The other menus are not available. So it allows for less trained labor, I think, in the kitchens. So
yeah, it feels like a breakthrough. Meghan, on that front then, what kind of labor-saving innovation advances are really making a difference for operators from your point of view?
Absolutely. So I kind of shouted out a little bit there when you were speaking about yes, right? The things that are really kind of simplifying that process. Look, like we will never take the need for labor and that oversight in the kitchen, but what I think we can do is simplify. So things like you mentioned, you know, iPhone type controls, right? One-touch controls is something that, you know, we've implemented, right? And I reference like my favorite kitchen worker, which is Johnny Nosering, right? So the 16-year-old kid in the back of the house, Johnny Nosering, knows when, hey, I need to put the chicken in the fryer. I push the button that says chicken and off to the races we go, right? And he can go back to texting or flirting with the rest of his, you know, female colleagues, right, when he's in the kitchen. So, you know, really kind of taking things to that level to make things easy to understand and really create that consistent product. So with those labor savings, we can, you know, we're also looking at reduced food costs, right? Because Johnny Nosering then comes back when the timer beeps and he's going to get that perfect, consistent product every time. So I think that we don't have to necessarily overcomplicate things. And when we talk about, you know, a look down this innovation alley, it doesn't necessarily have to be all the really fancy technology. It can be things as simple as a one-touch control to really simplify the kitchen process and improve the overall experience.
Yeah. Improving the overall experience, Christine, is clearly key, but is there a balance to be struck between automizing too much and maybe losing the core element of what makes hospitality special? How do we get that balance right?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, our younger clients are looking for more technology.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily as interested in having some face-to-face conversations. They're used to getting their food delivered to them. They're sitting down. So we have a different generation that we need to think about. And hospitality can mean different things to different people. It might mean face-to-face connections with different generations, and it might mean just getting some product to them quickly for others. So I think that you need to meet your client where they are and have different service points. You know, maybe there's some folks that do want to have that face-to-face conversation. We're doing a lot of variety in the serving areas so that they can use kiosk ordering or they can have a face-to-face conversation. So I think that we have to blend that and really see what our customers need and make sure that we're adapting to that.
Great stuff. Thank you. Bob, we're hearing so much at the show about AI and the impact it's going to have and is currently already having on this industry. Is it making the kind of impact into equipment that you thought it might? And how much do you think AI will have, you know, make a fundamental difference to how we produce equipment for the industry?
I think what AI is going to allow us to do as it unfolds, and I'm seeing a little bit at the show, this cycle, I think what it's going to do for us is eliminate the repetitive tasks that happen in the kitchen.
Yes.
That's going to in turn reduce labor, improve consistency. I'm seeing a lot of optical recognition starting to come in. So for instance, repetitive task, you've got a sheet rack full of burgers that need to be cooked, but then you're going to throw in some potatoes and some carrots. What I'm seeing now in some of the equipment is as that product is loaded, it's recognized, the cycle activates, the cooking cycle starts, finishes without human interaction. So I like that kind of technology. I think it needs to be integrated for a little bit, maybe a little bit more in this market before it becomes widely used.
Great stuff. Meghan, from your perspective then, from the manufacturer's view, How are you seeing AI being implemented and applied into new technology?
Absolutely. So I think this is really exciting, right? So how many of you guys use, I mean, just even simple AI to write emails for you or look up a recipe, right? I think there's a lot of exciting things with AI. I, for one, have used it to write emails, right? I'd be clicking away, spending all this time writing really long emails or follow-ups or things like that. But I think we touch on where we can bring this into the kitchen and from the manufacturer's perspective too, is just really looking at how to optimize, like say a basic SOP, right? Those repetitive tasks. So where I think that we still need that human interaction, right? Because if you have written an email through AI, you know that there's things probably either that you wouldn't say, this isn't your voice, right? So taking something as simple as that email though, and looking that we still have to kind of comb through this. Like it's not going to be a foolproof process. I do think that there are innovations, right? So pizza bot, fry bots, robots that are delivering food. All those things are awesome, right? And I think that there's absolutely a place in the marketplace, as we continue to develop and refine. But I have watched a lot of Terminator 2 when I was younger, and the last thing we need is our AI creations to turn on their creators. So I really do think that we have to have that human interaction. I think that there is absolute optimization when it comes to SOPs and refining process. But I think we still have to really work to see how we can closer integrate because I don't think it's foolproof yet.
No, it's not. And Christine, we're talking about some seriously high-tech innovation here. The majority of the projects you work on are in healthcare, right? And we've spoken at length before about sometimes that side of the sector can be a little slower to adopt some technology into its kitchens. But is that always the case? And how is the healthcare sector maybe leading the way in some areas of innovation?
Yeah, I think they really have caught up a lot. I mean, we are doing pre-order, pickup stations, lockers. We're doing all of those types of things in healthcare. And I think one of the places that they're leading is we have a lot of robotic deliveries. So tray deliveries, soil tray pickups. We take that, really there's no value in the material management of just moving carts around. So having robots that can move them around for people and then being able to, use the people for face-to-face conversations with patients. So I think that they are leading the kind of robotic movement. We see some restaurants doing that, but healthcare's been doing that. So I think that they're catching up.
Yeah, and perceptions maybe need to shift a little bit
right,
on that.
Right.
Great stuff. Bob, we hear a lot about connecting kitchens and connected kitchens. How can adopting that kind of approach, that connected commercial, connected kitchen approach, really transform an operation?
So I love this idea. This idea has been out there for quite a while. When NAFEM protocols came out a while back, there was this whole push. All the equipment have their own sensors. Most of the manufacturers generate a software package that works with their systems. What has not been fully adopted yet is a single program that works along all platforms. That's the holy grail. I think we're starting to see that now.
Yeah.
It's not practical for a kitchen manager to pull up several apps and see what's going on. So to have that one interface that talks to them, I think is going to be huge. It's going to release, I think Christine mentioned this, temperature logs, for instance. I mean, you've got to go around and write the logs. Most of the time, those logs are not correct. They're done because they don't have time. They've got to get back to peeling potatoes. So I think having that in place, having a system that is integrated and single sourced is going to free up a lot of lower tasks that right now are being done by humans and sometimes inaccurately.
Yeah, fantastic. Great answer, Bob. Thank you. Meghan, all of that it means there's a lot of data to be gathered. Why is data kind of analysis so important now, and how can it ultimately help kitchen workflow to improve?
Right. So data is clearly the future. So, from the manufacturer's perspective and having as many brands as we do, for example, you cannot make any decision that's not based on data, right? So you'd be shooting blind, right, to make innovations, to, go down a path where you don't have data. So I think that all the things kind of that we've been talking about and how we, push forth, things like new product, if we're not doing that from the data perspective, what's what's not working, what is the, costs, right, relative to the equipment that's in the market. So without being able to leverage data, we just wouldn't have that innovation in the same fashion. And again, that's going to come down to the communications, the alignment of brands as we look to innovate new equipment.
Great, thank you, Meghan. Christine, we're talking here about a rapidly changing environment, but also a challenging environment. And for operators to invest in this kind of technology, this kind of innovation, the consultant plays a pivotal role here, I would think, in terms of advising operators in what kind of equipment to work with and get the best possible use out of it. Can you talk a little bit about why the consultant is so important in this process?
Yeah, I think the consultants, and especially the FCSI consultants, we have connections. We have connections with manufacturers. We are at the shows. We are gathering as much information as we can, talking to each other about what works and what doesn't work. I think that shared information that we have as consultants can then be passed on to our clients. So I think using consultants and FCSI consultants is absolutely a must for any operator looking to design or do MAS consulting.
Absolutely. And Bob, from the consultant's perspective, how is basically a more improved, more innovative kitchen changing how you design those kitchen spaces as well?
Mostly for us, it's about space.
Yep.
So the more multifunction we can get out of a piece of equipment, the more technology is leveraged in that piece of equipment that does more, allows us to use less space. Space is at a premium, space is very expensive. Hood space is even more expensive. If we can reduce the size of the hood, we reduce the cost of the air conditioning. We reduce the cost of the lighting. The environment becomes less noisy and a little better to work in. Storage solutions. Our storerooms go down when there's management software in place that allows just-in-time delivery to occur where we don't have to have too much in the back. So it's really about, for us, from a design standpoint, it allows us to do more with less in terms of space and the cost of that space.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bob. And Meghan, maybe a final word from you. Can you just let us know why shows like the NAFEM Show, where we are here today, are so important for helping the industry, helping consultants keep abreast of these kind of changes, this kind of innovation that is out there, and for educating us all? Why do shows matter?
I mean, have you looked around? I mean, this is to me, this is our Super Bowl, right? It is so exciting to be able to connect with everybody. And I mean, we're in the hospitality industry for a reason, and it's those relationships, bringing in those connections, having those relationships. And everyone says, business deals are, done over breaking bread or having cocktail, or I say I do the best business here, walking to and from the show, and having those relationships, saying hi, doing the waves, and grabbing a, drink at the lobby, right? So all of those things, I think, really boost the communication, the trust between all of our different channel partners. But ultimately, we are here, showcasing the brands. You can come in here and see what's new, right? You have the ability to then come and learn more, right? At, one of the manufacturers, the innovation kitchens and things like that. So it's really bringing people together, communicating, getting that FaceTime, which I really enjoy. And connecting with our partners. So without that, we're not having that open engagement and building that trust and that partnership to push us forward.
Fantastic. And on the note of pushing things forward, I'd like to really thank our esteemed panelists here today, Christine, Bob, and Meghan. Thank you to Middleby for their support. Thank you for watching today, and goodbye from the NAFEM Show. Thank you.